Hello and welcome to the Gashouse Gang with Matt Pauley. I'm Tom Ackerman. Both of us working remotely. Normally, I'm in the KMOX Sports office right now, spending a little Thanksgiving holiday, getting ready for Guns and Hoses and watching Indiana basketball. We look horrendous here in this first half. What in the world? This is not an IU halftime live show, however, even though I'm wearing the lid. We are talking Cardinal baseball. We're talking all kinds of things with Matt. How you doing, buddy? Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. I'm doing well. I'm sorry that Indiana doesn't look great right now.
Yeah, playing Louisville right now, and we're a football school anyway, so we're just trying to iron this whole thing out. Guns and Hoses tonight on just a quick little plug on KFTK. It'll be on Fox 2 live. I'll have the play-by-play of boxing. I look forward to that for the fourth straight year. And for the first time, 97.1 FM, KFTK will be picking it up. So we're looking forward to that. We got a great crew of Jesse Finney, Julie Tristan, Jasmine Huda, and an unbelievable Cardinals production crew that does it all in Enterprise Center. So I hope that you can make it down. If you can't, watch it on Fox 2 or listen to it on 97.1. Okay. So tonight, Matt Pauley has a little sports open line before Billiken basketball. A lot of things going on. The hot stove is lit.
Yeah,
I mean, it is. That is some story right there. A bomb that was dropped yesterday with Blake Snell going to the Dodgers for 5 years, Matt.
Yeah, the Dodgers just keep spending money, Tom, and they made themselves better. And they certainly had issues this past year when it came to starting pitching. That was one area where they had a bunch of guys and they had a bunch of injuries, and they tried to work their way through. But now they get him back. Shohei is going to be back pitching as well. So that rotation already looks better next year than it looked this past year. I guess it does present the question, is it good for baseball when you have teams like the Dodgers that spend like this, that they and look, they're still in the Juan Soto running too. Like, how crazy would it be if they end up with Juan Soto? I don't think that's going to happen, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. I appreciate teams that go all in. I appreciate teams that spend money, but you just feel like with the Dodgers, it's going to be hard for anybody else to compete when they keep doing things like this.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable rotation. It really is. And the Dodgers have had some issues keeping their pitchers healthy. Of course, they have the luxury of having these resources where they can keep adding. Who's their biggest challenger in the National League, do you think? I mean, are they far and away the best, or do they have some competition?
I still think it's the Phillies, and I think the Phillies are going to make some moves. The Phillies have been rumored to be interested in Nolan Arenado. So if the Bregman thing doesn't happen with the Phillies, to me, I view them as the second best team. But if the Mets end up getting Juan Soto, that changes that. I think the Mets are the team that scares me in terms of becoming the next Dodgers. I think very highly of David Stearns based off his work in Milwaukee, and he did great things there with a low payroll. And now he's walking into a New York situation where Steve Cohen is very willing to throw money around. And if Stearns can be as smart as he was in Milwaukee with the resources of a Steve Cohen and that kind of payroll, I feel like the Mets can be the Dodgers as well. So, we shouldn't sleep on the Braves. We know about their talent. But right now, I think Dodgers, Phillies would be the two teams that I look at as being really the top two teams of the National League.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Dodgers are super talented. We've all seen that. Geez, Juan Soto over there doesn't seem fair. But, they can do that. It actually doesn't surprise me at all. Where do you think, if not the Dodgers, where does he land? I mean, who is it between here? Yankees, Mets, Dodgers? Who really can get in there?
Yeah, if I were to put like a percentage chance on it, I think it's 50-50 that he ends up with the Yankees. I think there's like a 40% chance he goes to the Mets, and then I'll put the Dodgers at 10%. I have a hard time believing it's not going to be one of those three teams, and I think in all likelihood he probably ends up back with the Yankees, but certainly a chance for Mets and Dodgers as well. It feels like the Mets, just based off what I'm reading, feels like the Mets are maybe the team that are willing to go highest from a money standpoint. So if Soto makes the decision only on finances, it might end up being the Mets. But the Yankees are going to have something to say when you look at who the Yankees are, the team they want to be, and how important he is to their lineup. I don't think the Yankees are going to go down quietly on this.
I'm with you on that. This next big move that's going to happen in the baseball offseason could be today. I wouldn't expect anything tomorrow or Friday or the weekend. I think if you're going to get one more big bomb drop that happens today, then things kind of quiet down, don't they, Matt, before baseball winter meetings start, which are December 9th down in Dallas. You will be there. Mike Claiborne will be there. I think Ricky Horton is heading down.
He's going as well.
All three of you from the radio team. That's fantastic. Of course, we'll have tons of coverage. I don't think you're going to see heavy activity this weekend. I could be wrong, but things tend to quiet down during a holiday. But we'll see.
Yeah, if something happens, it's one of those things where an agent leaks something, because I don't think any team is going to be interested in announcing anything. And certainly you need guys to go get physicals, and I don't think anybody's going to be flying around the day after Thanksgiving to go get a physical done. So maybe an agent out there leaks something. Maybe there's a small move here, a small move there. But I think to your point, you're right. And the big question is going to be, I think baseball's had a problem in the last few years. Everybody gets together for the winter meetings, and MLB Network and ESPN set up their big sets and everything. Like, you want the winter meetings to be something. You want it to be a time where moves are made, and especially this past season, but more often than not, most years recently, there's been very little activity. And I actually think that's bad for the game when you have that many people there. And when, this baseball needs to have a spotlight on it as often as possible, especially when football is going on. It's one of the reasons that I wish they had the August 31st trade deadline still in place, because it was just another chance to put a spotlight on baseball as football was getting underway. Man, I really think baseball needs to figure out a way to make the winter meeting something where they guarantee themselves there are some moves, because Tom, it was boring, and it was not good last year when literally nothing happened.
I agree with you, and I hate it for the game. I do think that in the entire offseason, rumors need to circulate. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think these guys that they have, like, I think Jeff Passan and Ken Rosenthal kind of lead the pack here. I know there's a ton right now, Mark Feinsand and others. Your guy, by Robert Murray, is his handle on X from up in Milwaukee. He's good. But
I've got a solution. You want to hear my solution?
Yeah.
Okay. My solution to this is you move up the winter meetings a little bit. You don't open free agency right after the season ends. You create like a 1 week or a 2 week legal tampering period leading into the winter meetings, and then signings cannot become official until the winter meetings. So let's say you do winter meetings mid-November, late November, with a 1 to 2 week tampering period leading up to it.
I like that. The Cardinals made their big deal for Arenado early. If I recall, the Goldschmidt deal was early, wasn't it? And then, some others. The Cardinals tended to make big deals early. And like you said, the winter meetings from the Cardinals standpoint were kind of quiet at that point. For right now, I think this kind of hurts the Cardinals for 2025 in terms of selling tickets, or at least telling their fans what's going on, because right now Nolan Arenado is a Cardinal, and I don't know if he's going to be in a few weeks. So fans are sort of sitting here. The Cardinals are like, hey, tickets are on sale. And fans are sitting here like, well, what does the team look like? I have no clue. And neither do they. And Brian Helsley's still on this team as it stands right now. So there's a lot of uncertainty. I don't know that it helps the Cardinals from a marketing standpoint. But back to the baseball overview, I think you need chatter. You need rumors. You need circulation. You need people talk. One of the things about the NFL that is annoying, I think, and the NBA for that matter, that's annoying, but it's just relentless speculation and a lot of spitballing. But it creates conversation. It's not really what we do necessarily. I don't know that we would be doing that. I would prefer that, we're sourcing things. We're sending out information. We are hearing concrete information about what is happening here. But you at least need chatter. And so baseball has got to compete with those two from that standpoint.
100%. The NFL is so good. In the offseason, they space out their events, whether it's the draft, the combine, all those things. They space them out to make sure that there's always news going on. NBA free agency opening up is the most exciting free agency period in all of sports, because there's a salary cap. So if you don't spend your money, you don't spend your money. So you got to do it right away. I think it was Charles Barkley who said this recently. If it was somebody else, I apologize. But I think it was Charles Barkley who made the point that one of the reasons, because NBA TV ratings have tanked. The actual TV ratings for the games during the regular season, they are not good. And I think it was Barkley who made the point, Tom, that the NBA has gone so all in on the storylines of the season that the games don't matter as much. We want to talk about Bronny James not riding a bus in the G League as opposed to what's actually going on with teams. So I do think there could be some correction from the NBA standpoint, because it feels like during the regular season, the games don't matter quite as much. And all the breaking news people and the insiders and all the stuff going on outside of the games have kind of overshadowed games. But generally speaking, yeah, I mean, the NBA is very good at staying in front of folks, and there being a lot of chatter.
You're watching the Gashouse Gang. We're on YouTube and KMOX Sports. Definitely subscribe to the KMOX Sports page at YouTube. And while you're at it, if you haven't subscribed to Bernie's show, The Bernie Show, Bernie Nicholas has a great one. He's climbing to about 7,000 subscribers. We're in the hundreds of subscribers on YouTube, but we're going to get there, I assure you. The KMOX machine is churning here. We get a lot of views. We're kind of all over the board, though. Facebook, X, I think Instagram may be picking us up here and there. We've got all kinds of platforms that are putting us out there. I would say YouTube is probably your best bet. It's really easy to use. Of course, you can watch this anywhere and listen to it again in podcast form. We're sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling. We're thrilled to have them as a sponsor, so thanks so much for their contribution. We have had an absolute blast here on this show, and Bernie Nicholas brought in that sponsorship. So thank you to that. And we have a lot more coming. But the Gashouse Gang, sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. So let's talk Cardinals here and how this market affects them. Arenado is the name, but Helsley's going to get the haul. With all respect to Nolan, his career is on the back end. His numbers have declined, and Helsley is the hot topic here. I also wonder how Snell sets the market for pitchers and what this means from a Cardinal standpoint too, because they have a few pitchers that may be of interest to other teams. They have some young pitchers that I think, based on their philosophy here and their plan, I call it the plan, to move forward, they want to see their young pitchers. So I wonder where this all falls for them and what the market looks like.
Yeah, when all the free agent dominoes have fallen and there's some teams out there that wanted to acquire starting pitching and maybe they weren't able to do it, I think Eric Fetty is the name to watch with the Cardinals. If there was one player who could, and I don't think the Cardinals are looking to trade Fetty, but I see that making so much sense in so many ways, especially if Miles Michaelis and Steven Matz are around. If Michaelis won't waive his no trade clause, they don't find anybody to pick him up. If you're really trying to find spots for younger players, well, that's a spot that you could open up in the rotation, and you could probably get something pretty solid for Fetty. I think you could trade Fetty here in this offseason for more, with all due respect to Tommy Edman, for more than what you gave up for him at the deadline this past year. That he's going to become, especially with how much money he's not making, he's going to be very attractive. To your point, though, Tom, the Ryan Helsley thing, and I know the Cardinals are saying that that they are willing to hold on to him, and of course they are. He's not somebody that you're just going to trade just to trade. But if you are looking to add more to your farm system and bring in some top level prospects, that's the guy to do it. And it makes so much sense. We talked about this the other day where the Brewers have said that maybe they won't trade Devin Williams. If the Brewers don't trade Devin Williams, I'm not quite sure what they're doing. I think we saw what happened with them a couple years ago when they traded Josh Hader midseason and how that was an absolute disaster. If you don't trade Devin Williams here and then all of a sudden you're competing and you feel like you have to trade him in the season, it's a repeat of that. So Williams and Helsley, I think, are very much connected to each other. And I think it's a little bit of a game of chicken because each team is publicly saying that they don't need to trade them. But privately, I would think both the Cardinals and the Brewers are very willing to trade each of those individuals.
Isn't that interesting? Because the Brewers are on a different plane than the Cardinals right now. They are the defending division champions, and they could go out and do it again. But they continue to have their own plan where, they are working. They are ahead of the Cardinals when it comes to player development. And they know that they can bring the next man up. This is exactly where you want to be if you're the Cardinals in, let's say, 2 years. And and maybe even more than that, because the Cardinals actually have deeper pockets than the Brewers do, and can, once they get this plan in place, start to fill spots if they need to patch with some pretty heavy free agent money. It's going to be, I think, an explosive and possibly machine-like team in about 2 years, maybe 3 years, if they do it right. The problem that they're going to have, I shouldn't call it a problem. The challenge that the Cardinals have, I will say this again, is selling their fan base on this. I know that we're telling the story, and I know there are a lot of fans that are in this right now, that are listening, that probably are breathing a sigh of relief. Like, finally, the Cardinals got it. I mean, you can't do this anymore. You can't keep patching and putting Band-Aids on it. You've got to fix the whole thing top to bottom. But there are going to be some fans, Matt, who don't follow this daily. I mean, there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
And they're going to get the headline that Nolan Arenado has been traded. They're going to say, what? I mean, how do you win without Nolan Arenado? What are they doing? And so that'll be interesting to follow, I think, from a fan standpoint, as to how they sort of, evolve in that way. I mean, they're going to have to they're going to have to send the message out that they are the baby birds, that they are young and fun and exciting. And let's watch this team grow and make a mistake once in a while, and then win a game with a walk-off home run, or who's the next guy up and the next closer, the next ace. All those things it's going to be a challenge, but it is going to be the number one priority, I think, for this organization moving forward.
Yeah, and I think there is a disconnect for some fans. I don't think it's the majority of fans. And I think, like, to your point, there are people out there. There are a lot of people out there that are Cardinal fans that are not on the internet reading every rumor every moment of the day. They love the Cardinals, and there's nothing. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm being putting that down, because that's perfectly fine. But I see it all the time on Sports Open Line. We were talking about Nolan Arenado yesterday, and I was getting text messages from people saying, "Well, why do they need to trade Arenado? What do you mean they're going to trade Arenado?" Right. I can't, like, every single time one of these things happen, we can't, like, reset and go all the way back to the press conference and go back over, exactly what the Cardinals are doing. But
we might have to. I don't know.
We might, yeah, because the bottom line is they are trying to. They got to figure out what they have in some of these young players, and they have to create opportunities for young players. And you're right about the baby birds and young guys and everything, but right now there's just not a lot of room for that. There's room for that behind the plate with two young catchers, and there's room for that temporarily at second base before J.J. Weatherholt arrives, because I think he'll be the everyday second baseman. There's not really room for that in the outfield beyond Jordan Walker, assuming he's going to be an everyday guy. There's no room for that right now in the rotation, and there is room for it in the bullpen. So behind the plate and the bullpen are the two areas where clearly they're going to be able to give some young guys an opportunity. So what do they have to do? They have to create more opportunities, and you create an opportunity by trading Nolan Arenado. And then you can really start to learn what you have when Nolan Gorman is just given a job and given the opportunity to work with a new hitting coach and work with new technology. What does that look like? What does Thomas Saggese look like when he's starting to get more at bats? All these things that they have to know, because as they go into this next era of Cardinals baseball, they got to know which one of these young guys are going to be part of this and which ones they need to move on from. And those are lessons that they really have to learn this year.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and they're going to have to really put a spotlight on their minor league system, because that's where all of this, and at the major league level, they're going to coach these young guys up for sure. I mean, how do they get Gorman back on track? How do they get Walker back on track, et cetera? But the minor league system will be highlighted more than ever before. I mean, Memphis should have a lot of attention on it. Springfield should have a lot of attention. Peoria, Palm Beach, all the way through. I see that Rich made a comment that he's from Peoria. Is there anyone to look out for with the Chiefs? I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about, that these fans in these areas are actually going to play a role here and letting us know what they see too. I mean, my answer to that would be J.J. Weatherholt. I mean, he's going to ascend pretty quickly, and I don't know how long he'll be there. I mean, he's at Palm Beach right now. He's going to shoot up pretty fast. We're going to be on Weatherholt watch. I got to give that a name, like the Weather Holt forecast or something like that.
Good, yeah.
I'm something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good name. I wouldn't be completely shocked if he skips over Peoria. If he has a great
if
spring,
he's there, he could be there for like a week.
yeah, he's going to get a lot of big league spring training time, and if he performs well, I could see him right at AA. And don't forget, the Quinn Matthews thing this past year was rather remarkable, where he went Palm Beach, Peoria, Springfield, Memphis, all in 1 year.
Mhm.
That doesn't happen very often. When that does happen, it happens with college guys. Matthews was a college guy. Weatherholt was a college guy, and I appreciate the Cardinals being willing to be aggressive in that. And I know we weren't going to talk about this, Tom, but real quickly, I just think this is a really important thing because Quinn Matthews is such a big part of what the Cardinals want to do probably this upcoming season. The Cardinals being aggressive like that is going to end up paying dividends because I talked to Matthews at the end of the season and he struggled at Memphis. And what he told me was that he learned that college baseball and summer baseball in college did not prepare him to be a professional, that he became a professional ball player and he was not ready for it. He was not ready to make it through an entire year. And he completely ran out of gas at the end of the year at Memphis. So the fact that he learned that now and he didn't learn that next year when he might be in the big leagues is really a key thing. So I think the Cardinals pushing Matthews the way they did, which resulted in him learning something about himself and gave him something to work on this offseason. I think that's something that when we get to August and September this upcoming year, that's going to impact him at the big league level.
It's the Gashouse Gang. You're with Matt Pauley, Tom Ackerman. We're sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, and we appreciate them very much. What a great sponsor they are. We're going to be here for not tomorrow. We won't be here for Thanksgiving, but Saliga Heating and Cooling, an American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, was brought in by none other than Bernie Miklas, and my man here, Matt Pauley, will be with Bernie on Friday. That'll be the next Gashouse game. But we got a lot of things to talk about, and I'll tell you one thing that has me very excited is college football and what's happening with the college football playoff rankings that now are out. That happened yesterday. I'm not surprised that my Indiana team got knocked down, nor am I surprised that they got in at 10. I think that was appropriate. They lost to Ohio State, an outstanding team. They lost the game soundly. The Buckeyes scored a late touchdown to make it 38-15. It was a close game early. Indiana did some good things, but they got beat by a better team. I mean, they could not protect the quarterback. They failed on special teams, and they weren't going to win that game. Not a lot of teams are going to win in Columbus, and I think they took that into account, that Indiana lost what was going to be a very competitive game. Had they won it, it would have been stunning. They might have vaulted all the way to 2 or 1 had they won the game. Now at 10, I think it's appropriate. So they're an 11 in the bracket. They would play, I think they had them against Penn State on the road. Great matchup there. So that's one thing that I noticed. By the way, Indiana's strength of schedule is no longer a conversation. It has now moved up to 51, so people will kind of leave them alone, I think. They play Purdue next, should handle it, and we'll get into the playoff. The rest of it is interesting. All those SEC teams, man, they all got bounced. Alabama, Ole Miss, A&M. I mean, a slim chance that Alabama could sneak back in, but probably not. I don't think they'll put a 3-loss team in there. And then there's the interesting thing about the conference championship games. I mean, Georgia could end up with 3 losses. What do you do with them in that situation? So it's going to be a wild couple weeks here.
It is. I agree mostly with the rankings. I maybe would have put Georgia and Tennessee in front of Miami. Now, Georgia and Tennessee each have 2 losses. Miami has 1 loss. We also learned last year that these college football playoff rankings mean absolutely nothing until the final one. The committee will actually show us what they truly believe when the final one comes out, and they'll find a way to rationalize their thoughts. I've talked about this a lot. The only real issue I have is I'm fine with conference champions getting the auto bid into the playoff, but I'm not comfortable with them being guaranteed the first round bye. The first round bye should be the top 4 teams. it shouldn't be connected to the conference championship. So if the playoff were to start tomorrow, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Penn State should be the 4 teams that get the first round bye. You shouldn't be holding out. There shouldn't be a possibility that a Boise State gets a bye in the college football playoff simply because they're ranked ahead of a Big 12 team that ends up winning the Big 12. A Big 12 team shouldn't be getting a first round bye just because they happen to win the conference championship. That's a little wacky. Use the conference championship stuff to give some auto bids like we see in college basketball. Don't use it for the bye. But yeah, I think the committee did a pretty good job with the rankings. I really don't have an issue. I do think Alabama's probably better than some of these teams that are in the top 12 spots, Tom, but Alabama did this to themselves, so they can't complain very much.
No, they can't. I mean, there's no question. I don't think Alabama's all that great, to be honest. I mean, I think they're name only. I mean, I've watched them very closely, and Kalen DeBoer, who was the offensive coordinator at Indiana, went to Fresno State, ended up taking Washington and loading that team up with a very exciting offense to the national championship game, losing. He will recruit some tremendous players, but he is not Nick Saban. And the change of culture is real. I mean, you can't just go to the next guy and say that they're going to be the same. Alabama has not looked great. I mean, even in their win over Georgia, they were up 28-0 and blew it at home. Like, who does that? Nobody. Not championship teams. Then, of course, they lost another game famously at Vanderbilt. They lost to, this last game to Oklahoma, and like that wasn't a game. And Oklahoma, we just saw them at Faurot Field. They're not very good.
No.
So, Alabama does not belong in this playoff. I'm sorry. I don't care how big their name is. They do not belong in it. Ole Miss does not belong in it. I mean, they had their opportunity and blew it. Texas A&M, fun team and all, but Auburn has 6 losses. You got to go in there and handle your business. So those 3 teams don't really have a say to me. When I look at all of this, I think Texas even is somewhat of a soft team. I mean, Texas has beaten who? Vanderbilt? I mean, who have they beaten? I mean, so, look, the SEC is a great conference. I mean, nobody knows that better than me. I've been to all half these stadiums. I love the SEC. And my goal is to go to all of the stadiums, get immersed in every culture, in every program, and learn them and know them. But the Big Ten's a better conference. They just are. I mean, Oregon and Ohio State are the 2 best teams in the country, period, end of story. No one is better than them. I think that Penn State is not at their level, but very good. Indiana's not at those teams' level, but very good. And they're being pushed by some other mediocre to higher level teams in the conference. We'll see what Michigan can do against Ohio State. I doubt they can do much. They will be good again. But college football changes. You can't just go by brand name every single time. I think, look at SMU. They slipped in there. They're winning some games. They've got some talent. I do think that the team to watch, I will say, the team to watch here, a team that could end up winning the whole thing, is Notre Dame. And Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. And I got it. It's a bad loss, and it should have knocked them down, and it did. But that was a long time ago. And Notre Dame, right now, if anybody's watched them, they're really good. I mean, they are playing great, all 3 phases right now. So, to me, I look out for them. I mean, they and that is a brand. That's the biggest brand there is. But they could do it. They could do it this year.
Notre Dame has scored 49 points, at least 49 points in 3 of their last 4 games. They haven't lost since their second game of the season. I think you're right on them, and they're there at number 5. I'm not a big sports gambling guy, Tom, but I do find the odds to be interesting because the odds and the rankings do not match up with each other. Ohio State is the betting favorite to win the national championship. They're number 2. Georgia has the second best odds. They're number 7. Oregon, the number 1 team, they're at number 3. So there is a disconnect between what the college football playoff committee is seeing and what the betting public is seeing in terms of a national championship.
Excited for this 12-team playoff. It's great for college football. Look, NIL has been very controversial, but it has drawn a lot of attention to college football as well. This college football is America's number 2 sport. It just is. The NFL is 1 and college football is 1A. And people are into it. The numbers are going up, and you wait till you see the ratings on this playoff. It will be through the roof. And it's about time that they expanded the playoff and got people more interested, more programs interested. These bowl games that were basically exhibition games, the old boy network of having these bowl games and everybody coming into vacation spots. That was nice and all. That's not what you want. You want competition at the highest level, and we are going to get that. And I'll say one other thing. My preference, and I know this is coming from St. Louis, but I prefer college football over the NFL all day long. I get why people love the NFL. These are the best players in the sport, and I love watching them do their thing. And yes, we lost a team here in St. Louis, but I still watch the NFL. I watch all the teams. I'm more of a casual watcher. I bounce from game to game. I don't root for one particular team, which makes my Sundays very enjoyable. I root for my fantasy team and then go play outside with the kids or go out and do whatever I want. I don't have to worry about it. It's entertaining to me. But college football, I mean, it is tremendous. It is pageantry. It's passion. It's bands. It's student sections. It's storming the field. It's chaos. Yeah, I don't see that in the NFL. The NFL will always be king. I'm not going to fight this battle. But they are, to me, a more exciting product on the college side.
I think the NFL is a better casual watch. If you're just going to sit down on a Saturday or a Sunday, I think you can enjoy yourself a little bit more just watching a random NFL game than a random college football game. But in terms of the passion and in terms of things really mattering, and if you have any skin in the game whatsoever, in terms of things being compelling, I'm with you. I think that college football does give a better story and a better show. That's not going to be agreed with from a national standpoint. And the NFL, like you said, is king. But there are some areas, and I think we can say the same thing about college basketball. There are certainly some areas where the athletes are different. The game is different. NBA players are some of the most talented athletes walking the face of the earth. In many ways, college basketball is a better show and a more compelling product.
Hey, Drew, before we take our last comment, put Steven's comment up there, if you would, Steven Patterson. And I'm totally fine with this. I mean, this is a common theme that I hear, that not only is Indiana not beating a ranked team, they haven't played a team with a winning record except Ohio State. That's true. I mean, that's very true. That's a fact. They have not played a team with a winning record until they played at Ohio State and lost 38-15. Did they get destroyed? Well, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, it was a competitive game in the first half. The punter had a ball go off his face, and a 7-7 game became 14-7. They let a punt return get away from them. It was 21-7. Then they couldn't move the ball. So if you think they got destroyed, that's fine. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to be Florida State here. I will not whine for a playoff spot. I'm not going to do it. I'm just happy to be here. I really am. I mean, we're usually fully into basketball season at this point. I love the fact that they're making people upset, that they're in the mix. It is incredible. So, yes, you are correct. And if they don't get in, which isn't going to happen, they are going to get in. But if they didn't get in, I mean, whatever. Then they'll come back next year, and they're going to be a 9-10 win team potentially. Again, it's not their fault that Washington was down, that Michigan was down, that UCLA was down, that Michigan State was down, that Nebraska, who actually was pretty good,
that's the best win,
wiped off the freaking field. It lost 56-7. They pounded people, Steven, one after the other. Michigan came in, played a passionate game, and they held them off with great defense. And then Ohio State did their thing, scored a late touchdown in the final minute to rub it in their face, and beat them 38-15. As I have no problem with that. You do what you got to do. They won the game decisively. No one's beating Ohio State this year in Columbus. Not one team. Not one. Maybe Georgia. Maybe. When Georgia's firing on all cylinders. I don't think Oregon can beat them there. Maybe. It's an amazing thing for me as an Indiana fan to be like thrown in the mud by SEC and other teams out there, and I love it. I'll get in there. I'll get in the mud. I will gladly get in the mud. You know how happy I am to just have Indiana football being discussed on November 27th. It's unbelievable.
You were ready, Tom. You were ready to go.
All right, final thing, Gashouse Gang with Matt Pauley. I'm Tom Ackerman. What are we thankful for? I'll start, Matt. I'm just thankful for our fans here in St. Louis. We are the greatest sports-centric town in America. And yeah, the Cardinals and Blues might be down in the standings. But I'll tell you what, the fan bases of those two teams are unbelievably smart and passionate. They keep us on our toes. Matt and I both grew up fans of both teams, and we completely know them and understand them. And they are there. I assure you of that. They are there, and they are present, and they are waiting, and they will comment and talk and discuss sports. It's what we do in St. Louis. You know, when you gather for the holidays, what are you probably going to do? You're going to talk baseball with your dad, your uncle, your mom, your grandma. They all know. And hockey fans will do exactly the same. Not to mention, City has built a great fan base. You got a fun basketball team in town with the Billikens, Mizzou, and Illinois fans all over the place, and on it goes. It's a great sports town. So for me, that's my first one I wanted to mention, is that I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I've been, and Matt has too, to every city. These sports fans in America are awesome, but ours is a little different. You know, we're just a little bit different. It's sort of our lifeblood in this town is sports. And so I'm very, very thankful for that.
Yeah, I would second that. Sports very much can be the front door to St. Louis, and then the fans make it what it is. And, you know, I know it was a down year for the Cardinals, but the Cardinals fans are so passionate, and not everybody agrees. And, you know, even the people I disagree with, and even the people who want to sit here and tell you who needs to be fired, even if I disagree with some of those things, they're saying those things because of their love for their team and the passion for the team. And it's a very, very special thing. And the relationship between the teams and the fans is incredible. This is really a special place. I always think about it, Tom, you know this, when we do a great job supporting the Cardinals, supporting the Blues, supporting the everyday things. But my goodness, when big events come in, when NASCAR rolls in, when the Ascension Charity Classic rolls on, like these big one-off events each year, there is not a city in the country that can hold a candle to the city of St. Louis in supporting these one-off events.
Yeah, when Tiger Woods came in for the PGA Championship in 2018, he was absolutely blown away by the galleries, and he's seen them all. I mean, he said it is a pleasure to play in front of these fans. It was absolutely ridiculous out there. And Michael Phelps was walking in the Tiger Woods crowd, and he was like, what is happening here? I've never seen anything like this. So yeah, and the fans in St. Louis love sports, and they feed off of it, and they also love the attention, which is great. You know, they love being told that they're great because it makes them feel like they're in on it. And I think that's the key for every sports team in this town. If I were to give any advice to any of our franchises, universities, athletic programs, let the fans feel like they are part of it, because they are. So let them in on it. Let them be vocal. Let them feel like they're be transparent. Let them feel like they're part of the decision making. You know, I know they don't sign players to contracts, but they can tell you, they'll let you know how they feel, and let them feel like they're in on it. It's an important part of sports and sports fanship. One more thing I'm thankful for, a lot of things, but just to let you know where I'll be tonight, Guns and Hoses, Enterprise Center, thankful for our first responders, police, fire, EMS, the families that support them. And tonight we will raise money for Backstoppers, for the families of fallen first responders. We cannot thank Backstoppers enough for what they do for Guns and Hoses, Budweiser, Guns and Hoses tonight, boxing with the firefighters going up against the police officers. We'll be on Fox 2. We'll simulcast on 97.1 FM Talk. We can't wait to see you out there at Enterprise. And there will be, I won't, when it's over, I will, but there will be a lot of beer consumed tonight.
Yes.
Like it is one of the amazing parties of the year. I think there's still some single tickets available for Enterprise, but otherwise it's sold out. But I hope you join us tonight.
Great event. My brother-in-law has been connected to it for years and years and years. And there's so many people that volunteer their time to get this event. Another unique St. Louis thing. I know there's Guns and Hoses type events at other places, but Tom, something like this doesn't happen in very many places. For you to fill up a major sports arena to watch firefighters and boxers, or firefighters and police officers box and have a couple drinks while doing it, it's a pretty unique thing.
It sure is. Hey, Drew, pop that one up too, the DLW 1904 real quick, that comment. Yeah, it's exactly what I mean. Don't blame the fans for not going to games for a bad on-field team. 100% what I mean. Do not let people tell you that sports fans in St. Louis are spoiled or Cardinals fans are spoiled. That is not true. Sports fans in St. Louis are passionate. They have been around. They've seen championships, and especially Cardinals fans. They hold that team to a high standard, and the Cardinals do it themselves. 11 world championships. They promote it. It is part of their history and who they are. So when the fans didn't show up at Busch Stadium this year, they're out there. I assure you that. That is not apathy. That was a statement, period. And the Cardinals heard it loud and clear. That was a statement, those empty seats. So they made a choice that I'm done for now, and I'm not going to travel in to go see. So this will be now a plan to not only get them back, but to build this franchise so that they're great for decades to come. Chaim Bloom is part of that. John Mozeliak and Bill DeWitt hired Chaim Bloom, and on it goes. Topic for the next show as well. Matt Pauley, Bernie Miklas will be joining you for the next show on Friday. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, Matt. You and your family are awesome. I appreciate you, man. Great having you part of our crew.
Love being here. Happy Thanksgiving to you. There's no person I'd rather work with and work for than you. So thanks, Tom.
You're the man. Thank you. Thank you to Drew Young, our producer, and to Saliga Heating and Cooling. Tom Ackerman with you with Matt Pauley. This has been the Gashouse Gang from KMOX.